Citizens of Tulsa and New York, welcome to Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. I am your host, Benjamin David. We are both live on our YouTube channel, B David Studios, and then you can also find the pod wherever you listen to podcasts. So subscribe, follow there if you haven't. On that note, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows. Also, any kind of super donations here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. And we're continuing the pods and the streams with our newest show, Tulsa King. We have been going live here on YouTube for Season 1 of Alien Earth, and now we're on to Tulsa King Season 3. So today I'm going to be reviewing Season 3, Episode 3, titled The G and the OG. Again, we're going to be going live every Monday for Tulsa King since the episodes drop Sundays, and then we're going to start going live, or I should say, we're going to start between 2 and 2:30 EST every Monday, PM of course. And finally, if you want to hear our exclusive episode coming next week for the Sam Jackson spin-off series of Tulsa King, then head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. I know I said that was supposed to be this week, but I still do have an Alien Earth post-mortem exclusive dropping this week for you guys, and then the Sam Jackson spin-off is next week. As patrons, you guys get early access to podcasts, detailed episode notes for each pod, and like I said, a ton of exclusive vids and pods you can only find there, way beyond just TMS show, just Too Many Shows pods. That's all just at the $1 level, and again, that's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. All right, so let's do it. My review of Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 3. And of course, here on YouTube, if anyone wants to comment and chat, please do so. So as always, we start off with some IMDb credits, and we have our non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then our spoiler walkthrough. This will be quick, mostly just writer-director stuff, since our cast is mostly in place at this point. Episode 3 is titled, once again, The G and the OG. Script is by Jamil Salim, whose name I did not recognize, but who has written for South Park, Bob's Burgers, mostly adult animation. Also credited, though, as a co-exec producer on this season, which you could say, all right, well, a lot of people are, especially if they're writers, they're also, but this other guy, like Kevin Dowling, who we're about to talk about, he's not on. I don't know. Maybe it's a writer thing for this show. Director is, of course, different. Like I said, Kevin Dowling directed 2 episodes from Season 2, looked his stuff up, so this is his first for Season 3. Created by the great Taylor Sheridan, of course, which if I haven't mentioned very briefly, he seems pretty hands-off in this show. Like, he did, of course, create it. I didn't look up what scripts exactly he wrote. I'm assuming he wrote the pilot, or at least co-written it, or at least co-wrote it. But anyway, I just think that's interesting that he created this awesome show, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on set. I do kind of wish our other boy from Terence Winter, my bad, I had a brain fart there. Terry Winter, good old Terry Winter from Sopranos. I kind of wish he was working on this season more, but there it is. Music composition, we haven't talked about this yet. I'm remiss to have not mentioned the great Danny Bency and Sonder Jurians, who do the main theme and the composition. The music for this show is incredible. I just love the Western stuff they do in this episode in particular. Really classic Western guitar stuff that I really like. So again, cast, we'll keep this quick. Most of the cast is the same. So what we are going to do, though, is credit the very creepy Dexter Deacon, aka the Watchmaker, played by Dallas Roberts. This guy's performance, wow, holy. So we'll get to that. Returning cast, of course, the great Sylvester Stallone as Dwight Manfredi, Dana Delaney is Margaret Devereaux, Annabella Sciorra is Joanne Manfredi, Martin Starr plays Bodie, Chris Caldovino is Dennis Goody Karanji, and then Neil McDonough is also back for this season as Cal Thresher, mentioned in this episode but not in it, and of course, Frank Grillo, Bill Bevelak, but no Bill in this episode, alas. So a brief synopsis from IMDb. Dwight must collaborate with Agent Musso to stop a terrorist. So some non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then we'll get to our spoiler walkthrough. I'm glad the show is picking up some steam plot-wise, though this is to analyze this for comfort, i.e. it's just too much humor. Like, I do appreciate that this show has humor. I talked about it, a couple times at this point, that tone management, although it was a bit of an issue last season, in particular with the stuff at the dispensary with Annabella Sciorra, I just thought they were like dabbling too bit in the humor / I don't know, it just wasn't heavy enough for me, I will say. But this is not quite that. It's not that same problem that I have, but just similar, like, just too much humor. It felt like season 1 and 2 were a gangster drama with humor. You know, this feels like full-on gangster dramedy, like as if you're just filling too much script real estate with jokes. Also, kind of annoying dialogue with Dwight and stuff with Musso that we'll get into. It also traces back to issues that I had in past episodes with Musso, but this is like, they're just doing shit that I don't understand how Dwight, as intelligent as he is even thinking these things, let alone saying them. And then there's just this on-the-nose shit that kind of annoy me. Also, I don't love Cleo. I know it sounds like I overall didn't like this episode. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I just, given my issues here. Or in this case with Cleo, now that we've learned more, it's about Mitch at this point, just that he let her back into his life, into this super high-risk life that he is now living. Like, no heads up to Dwight about this crazy impulsive ex of yours, like, who is key to the entire whiskey empire that you and your boss are now taking over. It's like way too much of a risk letting this woman back in your life, which we didn't know about this in previous episodes, but he flat out says stuff that, again, we'll get to, but it's like, she's way too much of a ticking time bomb for all this. So overall, again, I do like that the gangster plots and the Musso stuff are moving forward. I did mention in, last episode that I wanted that stuff to move forward because last episode kind of felt like a two-parter of a season premiere, right? Whereas this truly feels like it's picking up on that stuff. We got zero Musso stuff last episode, I believe, and really nothing of the Quiet Ray stuff, the pressure from New York, whereas this stuff is now moving back. Again, I just don't like the amount of humor, and I would also like some more action, to be honest. Like, we'll get into specifics, but I've seen much better action even on this show, not just the Taylor Sheridan stuff, not just gangster stuff in general. I gotta stop saying stuff. I just caught myself with that. I'm just surprised at the action beats in this episode in particular. All right, so our spoiler walkthrough. So begins our beat-by-beat spoiler walkthrough for Season 3, Episode 3. So we open at the Manfredi residence. This is Dwight's gangster suit-up sequence. I love a good suit-up sequence. For audio, I was just pointing at my Wayne Enterprises hat. Super into Batman, super into... I also have a Batman mouse pad right here. But, so I love a good suit-up sequence, and it's great seeing it with a gangster angle. I also like that it's intercut with espresso, so we're seeing him packing his gun, getting dressed. He's obviously super well-dressed, and they keep it quick, but it's nice. And the espresso thing is, of course, very Italian. You don't just drink coffee. You drink fucking espresso. So right to work at the distillery. This was him getting ready for work. Dwight arrives with Joanne. And of course, Bigfoot is in tow. Bigfoot is always in tow. Dwight does a pep talk, and he's like, you gotta know the enemy. So they're all kind of standing there waiting for him. He's like, things are heating up. Little too exposition-y for my taste. I know I just complained that the season, at least as of last episode, wasn't moving maybe as fast as I would have wanted it to. So yes, that's great. The plot is moving, but now it feels like, all right, we didn't move enough plot. Here's your dump. It wasn't a dump. I shouldn't call it an exposition dump. It was just like, why are they all just standing there lined up? Maybe that's part of the routine, is stand there waiting for Dwight, to the boss, to show up. And he might have just set a meeting. That could have just been it. It's like, everybody wait there so I can explain some shit. But again, it just felt a bit dumpy to me. Dwight gets a call from Dickhead, which I love. And this is, of course, Kevin Pollak Musso. And he's like, look, I got business. I can't meet with you now. Because he's like, oh, we got to meet. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, you have business with your adorable little gangster squad there? Get your ass over here. He goes, on call means on call. Get your ass over here. And as he leaves with Bigfoot, he's like, Bigfoot, let's go. Joanne's suspicious because she sees him suddenly leaving after this big pep talk. We got to get to business and whatever. Because she sees him take that phone call. And by the way, too, part of that exposition, we should cover. He's saying, things are heating up, obviously. The fucking estate was burnt down with the guy in it. We have action that's been going on with the Dunmeyers, and some of them in the crew as part of this meeting are kind of like, we should be more proactive. We got to figure out what's going on. Whereas Dwight's like, just keep a steady head, continue bottling whiskey. This I liked. I like that we see Dwight as he says later, he's like, I'm an entrepreneur, not an assassin. Obviously the guy kills people, but I like seeing him as the businessman and going, let's just keep the money flowing, literal whiskey flowing, and we'll get to business when we need to. Whereas I like that his crew is antsy, but wants the bread and butter still made, which is cool. Right to work. Oh, sorry, we just did that. My bad. So back to it. Bigfoot drops off Dwight at the self-driving car. So this reminded me of the Silicon Valley episode. I can't help but think someone on set wasn't just like, all right, Martin Starr was in that Silicon Valley show, HBO classic. For my money, one of the best half-hour comedies of all time, if not one of the best comedies of all time. By the way, I think since this is a TV podcast, very quick detour here. Comedy, I think, really works best half-hour, single cam, possibly. At this point, I think we're past the sitcom thing, unless you did some new raunchy version of a sitcom. But yeah, I just think, like, point is, feature-length movies, let me know if you guys agree that I think comedy works way better in half hour. Anyway, this felt like an episode of the Silicon Valley when that one character gets in the car, I think Jared, he gets driven around and then he gets put on some freighter and shipped out overseas. Pretty funny shit. But I like how Dwight is just this old boomer Italian guy. He's like, the fuck's going on? Would you like to select music? He's like, nah. You've selected Nas. So Nas starts blasting. I was moving my head to it. I like me some Nas. I just smoked before watching this. Dwight does not like it because he is not a child of the 90s. He arrives at some nondescript parking lot to meet Kevin Pollock Musso. How was the ride? I should put you in a fucking coma. Then who should I arrest first? Mitch or Margaret? Let's move. So this is the threat that he always has over Dwight, is that he's like, oh, you don't want to help me out? I know I'm a Fed, but you don't want to help me out? I will lock up everyone you love. Then we got our series intro. By, once again, I had it up here in my IMDb, Danny Bensi and Sonder Jurians. They do such a good job with that intro. And the music in general. So Kevin Pollock Musso is driving Dwight down a rural road after our intro here. Dwight asks where they're going. They're going to Texas. And he's like, you ever been to Texas? He's like, no. And so he's like, all right, who are we chasing? What's the assignment? What's happening here? He's like, this guy, Kevin Pollock's like, this guy kills women, children, anyone for a price. So now we get the introduction to this watchmaker guy. We still haven't seen him. I also found interesting, no visuals, no B-roll of this guy, no flashbacks. It's all just Kevin Pollock, Stallone sitting in a car. I did like this part of the dialogue. I know before I said that I don't dislike all the Musso Stallone stuff. It's just some of it. This part I do like. And he's like, all right, so you want me to, again, so this monster, he kills women, children, anyone for a price. I think you want me to do your dirty work so you can keep your underhands clean. I like that. Because he's like, you're a Fed. You need someone to do your dirty work, so they use gangsters. This, by the way, real quick, I mean, they talked about this in The Sopranos, how the Feds worked with, going all the way back to World War II, what was the line that the Fed had to Tony Soprano? He's like, do you think that FDR told, I forget the names of the gangsters, Carlo Genovese, where the Nazis were hiding out or some shit? And he's like, go fuck yourself. So yes, the government has worked with the mob throughout history. And he's like, we're no team, pal. He's like, you're going to like Texas. Guns, thugs, you'll fit right in. So yeah, this watchmaker guy the front is that he has this watchmaking shop, which is what Dwight goes to later to meet him, but it's to launder money for his actual business, which is blowing people up. He's a bomb maker. And this idea of this Wild West, if I haven't said this before too, I love that this show covers the basics of the West. Game of Thrones did this, of like, all right, it's a show that takes place in the West. We have, a watchmaker / bomber guy. That just felt like a very Wild West tech thing. Dwight's got a casino, and specifically now one, and of course it's bred to buck, so it's all country themed and shit like that. So essentially he's got a saloon. That's a basic thing we got there. Dwight's got cowboys who work for him. He's got the horse farm. You know, his girlfriend's the queen of the ranch. The list goes on of just like classic Western things, and now they're doing bootlegging. You're going to like Texas, though. Guns, thugs, you'll fit right in. I know I said that before, but great line. So back at the distillery, Dwight's guys are bottling some bourbon. Tyson is disgruntled and impatient. He's like, we should be hitting back. We should be figuring out what the fuck's going on. And I like Goody here. He's like, Skipper says obey and execute orders. That's exactly what we're going to do. And he's like, yeah, but he also said, no, your enemy. Like, we're sitting around bottling whiskey for this guy. He goes, oh, he's playing chess. He didn't say, oh, but I added the oh. He's playing chess. You're playing checkers. Don't question it. And I like how they have this mafia uncle around the crew to keep the kids in line. Both for Dwight, and then also it just seems like a very, as we talked about, like a New York corporate thing. Even though Goody is now on his own in the West, it just, again, he's kind of this mafia uncle guy. Not just because of his age, it's, you see what I'm saying. So Tyson, Grace, and Bodie decide to be more proactive, excuse me. And right before that, Goody's like, I gotta be somewhere. So Goody leaves, and now the cat's away. So now the mice are gonna play. And Tyson's like, no time wasted. Fuck this. Let's be proactive here. So back on the road with Musso and Dwight, because now that Tyson's not driving for Dwight, he's got to be proactive, guys. So back on the road with Musso and Dwight, he's like, this is what I don't like. Ready? Oh, this dialogue drives me nuts. How Dwight can even think this shit. And it goes back to, again, something a couple episodes ago. Anyway, here we go. What do you know about Armand? What the fuck do you mean? What does he know about Armand? What the fuck? Like, he's surprised that Musso has files on all his guys. And even Musso has dialogue right back to him this episode, going like, and he, flat out saying, he's like, let's stop playing the game. That's what it was. Let's stop playing the game of you acting like I don't know everything that you do. So yes, let's also stop putting that in the script, because Stallone even acts though. It's not like he's just saying it. I think we are supposed to believe that he is actually surprised. Unless you guys think different, let me know in comments. Let me know in chat. I just don't understand how this Dwight guy is so fucking smart, but he doesn't know. He's like, you know about, oh God. It can't just be that he's playing dumb, because I want to say that he even acted this way on the phone a couple episodes ago, which is what I was mentioning. It's why it annoys me more. This thing with Musso, again, of not knowing, all right, I got to get the fuck out. I got to be somewhere. I got to move on my own script here on this episode. Anyway, so back to Armand. He's like, he's in Colorado with his family. He's like, you sure about that? But the real truth is that Max Casella, the actor who plays Armand, is unavailable. Formerly Benny on The Sopranos. But yeah, whether it's because the actor is unavailable or not, we still haven't seen Armand this season. It's episode 3 at this point. And it's like, Dwight wants to believe the story of, you know, he's again in Colorado with his family, which later, it's spoiler walkthrough, we learn is not the truth. But again, how do you not know that Musso knows that you know that I know, and get the fuck out of here? Anyway, so Dwight starts talking shit. They fight about second chances because the conversation about Armand evolves in a good way, thank God, away from the nonsense before, about, you know, second chance. He's like, he's looking for a new lease on life. And then he's like, oh, you want to talk about new leases? He's like, you've got all, basically like, you're the luckiest asshole on earth when it comes to second chances, and ex-con of 25 years, now you're building an empire, like this is so much, anyway. I mean, so they start fighting about this, and then how Musso drives too fast, Musso's shitty music. There's a thing with music in this show. People are very sensitive. It's not just Tyson, which I literally put in my notes. Tyson is very sensitive about music, which comes up in this episode and previous ones. Now Dwight is also, I guess we did get some of that in season 1. When they're smoking, and I guess these music people that we are praising this episode know a lot about their music. Anyway, we learn about our monster. So this is, I guess, where we get even more. Okay, I was going to say, how did I not put those details down? This is when we get, anyway, back to it. Dexter Deacon, not his real name. Watchmaker who once again builds and detonates bombs for the highest bidder. Doesn't look like much. Yeah, and sorry, that's him saying that he doesn't look like much, which we'll get to. I love the characterization, or I should say the specifics of how this character acts when we meet him. But back to characterization, how that builds toward this guy that, again, doesn't look like much, but he is a monster. He's like, oh, so you want me to whack him? No, I want you to buy from him, bait him, and set him up. And he's like, so why do you need me? Get one of your fucking undercovers. But he says that this guy is so good, he's so brilliant, that even his undercovers wouldn't pass the watchmaker's test. I mean, these are, which means that the best undercovers in the world. You're talking about US government undercover, CIA level. Like, this guy seems almost above CIA, maybe somewhere between maybe CIA and the feds. I have no idea, but he ain't low on the federal chain here. And you're telling me his guys couldn't infiltrate, but makes sense. You know, you have this gangster in the area of Texas, and he's super high level. Again, like all the things that we'll get to the details, but it's plausible, which I like. And then again, historically, the government has worked with the mob. And then he even says, again, back to my annoying thing, can we stop acting like I don't know everything that you do? Because it's when he asks about Quiet Ray. How do you know about Quiet Ray? Now, this is where I would believe, and I'll get off my annoyance in a second. I just think this is where that would organically make sense of like, oh, I'm playing dumb about Quiet Ray. Whereas before, do you genuinely not know that this guy, or just make it clear to the audience, there's my beef. There's my beef, guy, in case you cared. So then Musso gets pulled over, and Dwight laughs, because he's like, you drive too fast. He's like, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. So back at the, excuse me, back at the Bread $2, Cleo's having coffee at the bar. Mitch rolls up and he's like, most important meal of the day. What, coffee? And then he takes a sip of the Irish variety. So she's drinking. She's morning drinking. She ain't just day drinking. She's morning drinking at the Bread $2. Mitch covered Cleo for not being at the distillery because Joanne was looking for her at the distillery. She's obviously key to this operation. This is a part of the Cleo thing I don't mind. Okay, her not showing up to work. These are believable things, or at least things where you could let this kind of shit go, considering what she's been through. Again, her father was burnt alive in her estate mansion. That's fucked up, but anyway, we'll get to it. So she's like, I don't need a babysitter. He's like, all right, well, how about you do some babysitting at the distillery? We need some people with skills over there, and we got this ragtag crew of fucking whatevers, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of just tries to get her mind off of it. So he walks her outside and he's like, she goes, oh, is this the car you took me to prom in? And he shows her this, I don't know, Firebird. I'm not a big car guy, but it seems like a 90s Firebird type muscle car. Cleo pulls out the parking lot. She's like, am I driving? He's like, that was the idea. So Cleo pulls out the parking lot of the Bread $2. And right before that, it was funny. He's like, now go slow. It goes a little quick. Of course, she peels out. So Musso and Dwight are once again pulled over on a country road, and I do not understand. I do not like it, Sam. I am. Ugh. He shows a cop, a local cop, a federal ID that is apparently at such a high level that this guy can recruit gangsters to take out terrorists. But that ID doesn't get him out of a ticket. I'm not going to repeat what I just said, because you can play it back. Play back what I just said. Like, is this a thing? That there are local cops that will, like, there's even a line in Justified. He's like, I hate to get all federal on you. You know, Oliphant. That ain't just Oliphant charm, kids. That's true. If you are a fucking Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens and you are rolling up on a cop, dirty or not, hate to get federal on you, so what the fuck is this? And this is when the show is just to analyze this. Dwight gets it, can I talk to you outside the car? So now you're gonna get someone who clearly looks like a gangster. Yeah, step out of the car. No, you would not want him to step out of it. Like, stay in the car, sir, stay in the car, sir, all the pullover things. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to the gangster outside the car. And even the dialogue they had before that, oh, we're not on the same side. I know we don't look like we're on the same side, all this shit. It's like, why are you telling the local cop this? You don't need to tell this cop anything. You would never have had that conversation. You you already would have pulled away. Because what the actual fuck? Anyway. Oh, so Dwight starts like charming him and... Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. And then it does cut away. That's not the end of the scene. So now we're at the gym where Cole works, where Cole Dunmire works. So Cole's truck is outside. Cole's truck is outside. And our proactive team of gangsters from our former dispensary, now bootlegger crew, are arguing over who's in charge in this Cybertruck. So they're in Tyson's Cybertruck. And they're talking about basically who's number 2. And he's like, well, now that, Tyson's like, I'm number 1 right now in this car since Goody's not around. And he's like, actually, if we're going by who makes the most money, I make the most money. This is Bodhi talking. Ergo, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what the fuck is an ergo? That's a great line. What the fuck is an ergo? Bodhi questions, he also makes fun of the Cybertruck. And then Tyson's like, it's better than your toy car. Remember you roll up to my house in some toy-ass car? And then he goes, this is something that's good to tail someone in. He goes, yeah, in Blade Runner, great line. In real life, we don't ride around in a refrigerator. So back at the pulled over car. Oh, so you're an informant. The cop, and this might be the biggest problem I have with the whole episode. In audio, I just sat all the way back in my seat here. He admits to being an informant. He admits to being an informant. I know you're able to play it back. That I did have to say twice. Now when you play it back, you'll hear me say it twice. To a local, in caps, cop in my notes. Like, so you're telling me, and later he says to Lois Lane / Margaret Devereaux, Dunmire is always in my way because he owns all the cops. He's got all the cops paid off. To the point where he has the governor paid off until, of course, Thresher, our boy Neil McDonough, can hopefully help out Dwight. But until then, this guy has everyone up to the governor paid off. And you think that telling a local cop that you're a rat, I think I've made my point. Dwight starts telling him that Musso, he's like, this guy's off balance. Let me excuse, what's he trying to, what's the word I'm trying to use here? Oh, you got to excuse my friend. That's the word I was trying. He's like, yeah, you got to excuse my friend because he's not having a good time and he's off balance and he's having family problems. And some of this dialogue is just cringe. It kind of felt like Stallone was like, oh, just let it roll and I'll make, and like, no. If that was scripted, re-script it. If you let Stallone do what he wanted there, don't let him do that. Well, I guess he's Stallone. What are you going to say? He then offers the cop bribe, and I'll try to stop whining, but offers the cop a bribe with tickets, and the guy accepts him. It's like, I can see the purpose of this scene, but I hate it. Like, it is as bad as that Al-Anon scene with Goody from last episode. I get why Goody, in this case, it's like, we'll stick to this scene and then we'll go back to the Goody thing for a second, but it's like, all right, Musso is not as smooth with, he doesn't have to be smooth though. That's my point. It's like, that ID gets him, but then again, maybe we're supposed to believe because this is off, maybe that's what it is. Dwight says later on, do they even know, is this a sanctioned operation? And basically he says no, and that's why there's no backup and it's just Dwight. So that could be the reason that we're supposed to just be like, all right, well, that's why Musso's not fighting the ticket or that. I just still, there's too much going on here that I don't like to make up for. And then again, the Goody thing from last episode. You have a mobster going like, Armand, this is the list of crimes that this guy has committed. Just information you never would have given to a whole group. It makes sense, again, that Goody would have gone to Al-Anon, you get my point, but it just doesn't make sense how they executed it. So Tyson tails Cole to a building that they don't recognize. They're like, where are we? So Bodhi and Tyson begin fighting again. Grace breaks it up again, saying if they don't get useful intel at this point, they're just going to go back to bottling whiskey. She's like, look, that's what we're supposed to be doing in the first place. This is a detour. We haven't gotten anything yet. Anyway, so inside, it's a pretty funny reversal. This is where I do like the dramedy angle of the show, the humor that it has. It just, again, it's like, too much MIDI in this drama, I would say. Anyway, you're gonna have to holster that, son. Because they walk in, there's all this tense music playing, and then reveal, giant bingo room. You're gonna have to holster that, son. Whereas in New Jersey, people be like, he's got a gun. And in this show, it's like, oh, we're in Oklahoma. You're gonna have to holster that, son. Unaffected. Cole Dunmire is hosting, and they're like, wait, what? Who's ready to win some money? Cole Dunmire is on the stage with a microphone, and they're just like, what is happening here? So Grace decides to play bingo, and of course, bingo is populated with no one younger than 100. Back on the road with Cleo and Mitch. Cleo questions Dwight's devotion. She's like, look, I heard a master sales pitch from a master salesman. I don't necessarily like, are you sure this guy's going to do what he says he's going to do? He's like, is Dwight a felon? Has Dwight done time? I check both those boxes too. So he's like, yeah, the guy's a felon. He's done time, but you're also in the car with someone who's done that, if not whatever. So yeah, me too, but he's also saving your daddy's business, saving your family legacy. Any other questions? No, but he's polite and patient with her at this point, and we still don't know what she's capable of quite yet. She's like, we're doing a road trip. We need gas. We need snacks. I like that line. We're doing a road trip. Back at the distillery, Joanne questions Bigfoot where he brought Dwight. She's like, you don't know, or you won't say? He's like, I won't say, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So then Clara, Armand's wife, comes to question Joanne about Armand. She's like, where the fuck is my husband? It's like, look, I don't know. Do you have a message for Dwight? And that's when she said, she's like, yeah, the message is my husband is missing. He was supposed to come and see his kids, and this is all new information to us. So he was supposed to come see his kids. We find out that his apartment is empty, car is missing, and he's not answering his phone. So this whole idea about he's in Colorado with his family. But then do we know as the audience, Dwight obviously could have done it, could have gotten whacked, could have whacked whatever, but I don't know. It's like, do we believe Dwight at this point? Or do we, I guess my question is, do we have enough information to know Dwight didn't do it? That's my question. So Joanne says Dwight's been looking too. Actually, no, yeah, because they did talk in that meeting before, but actually that might be, okay, this is where Ben talks to himself in the stream. Backtrack. There are like Sopranos episodes where Tony plays dumb as to the whereabouts, for example, of Ralph Cifaretto. You know, oh, I think it was New York, blah, blah, blah. Dwight could be playing dumb in these meetings with his henchmen so that they don't know that he took out Armand. I guess that's still a possibility. Let me know in chat. Let me fucking know. So Joanne, once again, she's like, look, Dwight's been looking too. She's like, I bet he has. Fun Western guitar kicks in. Good shit, guys. It's exactly how it sounded on the show, too. It's exactly how it sounded. Musso and Dwight arrive to the big city in Texas. I'm assuming it's Dallas. I Googled closest major, I'm such a Yankee, closest major city to Tulsa in Texas. And it said that Dallas is about 200 miles away, so I'm assuming it's Dallas. I apologize for anyone from the South that I don't know what Dallas looks like. Anyway, he's like, this is the dialogue that annoys me as well. I guess we'll call this, before it's like gangster stupidity, now this is just philosophical shit that no one would ever, I guess, say in an actual conversation. I've been thinking about this eye for an eye thing. Again, hate the dialogue. Oh, the gangster and the lawman have differing philosophies on justice and vengeance. Like, I've been thinking about this eye for an eye thing. He's like, I believe in rules and regulations. That's what sets us apart from the blah, blah, blah criminals. Or from the evil, or whatever he says. He's like, actually what I think is that terrorists, that's my point. He's like, actually what I think is a deterrent. He talks about the ball sack grenade deterrent. He's like, take back their focus. It's just this disgusting thing that you get it if I say ball sack grenade deterrent. He's like, I'm going to stick with lethal injection. Dude, I mean, and where did that come from? This idea of I've been thinking about this eye for an eye thing. Makes sense. It's simple. It's clean. Like, did you think about that in jail 25 years ago? Did you think about that 40 years ago when you started being a gangster? 50 years ago when you started? Maybe more? Since you're 76 or whatever the fuck you are in the show? It's like, come on, dude. It's just such obvious, weird dialogue that I don't think any gangster or lawman would have, but okay. Back at the bingo game. And real quick, you can have those types of conversations, and maybe even those exact words. It just needs to be somehow sandwiched into a context. Why would this come up? It was out of nowhere, in my opinion. Back at the bingo game, Goody rolls up to their bingo table, and they're like, oh, where'd you come from? And apparently Grace called in case they got into something nefarious, as she says. So we find out, he's like, great line. This might be my favorite line of the episode. Why do you think Catholics run bingo? It's a fucking racket. Because he's like, oh my God, this guy's even scamming these old people. So the idea is that he's like, Colt takes a percentage of the door. Colt takes a percentage of the door, plants a ringer in the room, and then takes the prize money too. And then, I also love this line. This redneck's got to be destroyed, Tyson. This redneck's got to be destroyed. I didn't write that. I'm just saying it rolls off the tongue, guys. Nothing against people who might or might not be called rednecks. And then he's like, you want to make this right? Watch and learn, children. Watch and learn. Chris Caldovino as Goody is fucking awesome. Anyway, at the watchmaker shop, I love this Wild West tech character, like I said before. It's like a Mad Bomber of the West. You got your Mad Bomber, Batman the Animated Series. Gotta bring up Batman at some point in the episode. I guess this is the second time. Anyway, you just have this Psycho Bomber, but it's a Western angle. So this guy is super reserved, kind of effeminate. It is such good. Like, he's supposed to be this monster who kills women and children. You'd think he would look like some bulking whatever, and he's like, again, very effeminate. I don't know if that necessarily means he's gay, not that that matters, but you get my point. He's not your aggro, as they would call him, person by any means. So Stallone's like, I like this pin. Very fucking patriotic. And he's kind of like manhandling his jewelry and the jewelry case and all that shit. Very fucking patriotic. I want it. How much? And he's like, yes, thank you. That's $2,000. And he's like, no, give me my watch back. Because at first he's like, I need you to fix my watch. He's like, no, give me my watch back. It's not worth your fucking time. Kind of on the nose, silly dialogue, watch time, but it's funny. It was fun. It was fun. And the delivery of Stallone. Also, gangsters do say corny shit like that, like old Italian men. Even as gangsters, they say corny shit. And still a good line, like I said. Anyway, using your watch. He's like, smart. What is? Using your watch shop to clean your money. Using auctions to get wire transfers. So now we learn even more about the character here, which I thought was smart exposition. Like, this is more stuff that we could have gotten in the car from Kevin Pollak. Now we're getting it through Stallone, going like, oh, I know your game here. And he's like, the only way, oh, and then this is where the watchmaker goes, because he goes like, Deacon, the only way you know that name is if you have friends in high-low places, or you work for the feds. And he's like, Deacon, 3rd century. This guy in Spain, they chopped him up. Oh, so good. And he's always doing these history lessons. I think it was last episode, or maybe it was the first episode, when he talks about the San Gennaro. And how San Gennaro, the lesson to his grandkids was basically like, don't ever do people favors. Because you'll only get fucked over in the end. It was so old school Italian. I love that. Or never do nothing for free, whatever it was. So he's like, you'll get to know me. Look me up. Dwight Manfredi. I'll be around. Basically saying, oh, because, I don't do business with people I don't know. That's what it was. That's the line I should have written. But the watchmaker's like, I don't do business with people I don't know. Sorry, but thanks, but no thanks, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, but believe me, you'll want to do business with me. I'm the type of guy you would want to do business with. So Mitch and Cleo And real quick, we'll stop here because I think, not the whole episode, but just to take a quick pause is my point. I like this idea that the feds would, again, use a gangster to take out someone this sick, and he would be as believable. They don't have to sell a story. They don't have to make any fake IDs. They don't have to do all the things you would have to do, my point is, with an undercover. This guy can do all the homework if he's that intelligent, and know that, like, all right, Dwight's got some beefs with people. He would want to blow people up. In fact, someone just got blown up on his side of a gang war, which maybe that's on the nose timing, but that's probably what they'll use. So Mitch and Cleo stop for gas. Mitch now has doubts about this little road trip. He's looking around a little bit. Cuts away pretty quick back to bingo. The crew figure out who the ringer is, distract him, and then switch out his ticket. So the three sit down at the table. They're like, oh, and they basically, again, they distract him to switch out the ticket. Tyson wins bingo. And Cole's crew walks over. It's like the toughest dudes who would ever walk over to a bingo table. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? And he's like, look, my friend won fair and square, said Bodie. So in the parlance, fuck you, pay us. Some good Goodfellas line there. And then I like how Goody, the ball, just that mafia confidence, keeps us cool, but he's just super ballsy. Oh, you think it's smart not to pay one of your winners in front of all these potential winners? It's like, you don't want to be an asshole here, so pay up, motherfucker. He's like, all right, pay him, but we ain't done. Says that to Tyson. And then Bodie, bingo, motherfucker. And this is what I do, like, again, where it works for the show. What I'm trying to say is the humorous stuff works for the show because you need smart-ass people in gangster stuff. And, I mean, I guess you don't necessarily need this much of it, but you get my point. You would have people who crack jokes like this all the time, and in shit talk, there is humor. So back at the gas station, Cleo starts shoplifting whiskey. Mitch does a great job here acting-wise. I forget the actor's name here, but I just like the tension, even for something as small as shoplifting, because it feels like it was something that was going to escalate. Like, if he goes to jail with his record, that's the big risk, I guess. You're like, he is fucked, not for life, but you get almost. Might as well be. And then he's like, oh, God. So he agrees to shoplift, follows her back outside. She puts whiskey in her purse. He puts one. She puts one, like, in his belt, and he still takes it. Which is like, he didn't... Oh, God. What people do for love. Anyway, so he outside at the car, and she's back. And then we learn what that means. Cleo peels out of the gas station, back on the road with Musso and Manfredi. And I do like, this was smart about the episode. They have this little mini back and forth road trip. You got a road trip with Cleo and Mitch, and then you got our much more serious road trip with Musso and Manfredi. He's like, that was difficult. What was? Not tearing that guy's head off. It's like, look, this guy is pure evil. Makes you look like a saint. It's like, why is this guy so important to you? It's personal. So Dwight asks, this is where Dwight flat out says, he's like, is this even sanctioned? Like, do the feds even know you're doing this? Is this legal? Which is interesting for Dwight Manfredi to ask if something is legal. He's like, I only need one man. Because like, where's your fucking backup? What's going on? I only need one man for this, and that's you. So this Musso character either finds monsters like this for a living, and Dwight's the closest solution, meaning geographically, you got a guy in Dallas, like I was saying, your closest gangster, and this is generally what he does, right? You find some terrorist, easiest way to infiltrate terrorism for this guy, or at least this is what he generally does, finding a high-level gangster, infiltration, better than a undercover, like I said. But anyway, so either this is what he does, or it's both, meaning it's just that he finds this. Oh, sorry. The second thing, or the watchmaker killed someone close to him, which I think definitely the latter. My point is definitely the latter, just not sure about the former. I am not sure exactly what this Kevin Pollak Musso character does, but I think that would be an interesting thing if, again, he finds these terrorists and then a local high-level gangster to infiltrate. But this guy definitely killed someone close to him. If he's saying it's personal, this guy blew up a woman or a child, maybe his daughter, who knows. Cleo does donuts on the Dunmire estate, and I just hate Cleo in this scene. It just, maybe if she is this impulsive, which we do get later in dialogue, and this is where the show confuses me. Like I said before, this is analogous to what my beef with the Musso thing before. Musso flat out has lines going, don't act like I don't know everything about you, but they don't make it clear to the audience whether or not Dwight does. So if the show is smart enough to know not to do that, make it clear. In this case, Mitch knows how impulsive and crazy this woman is. Why would he make her the key to this new, or maybe it just got out of his hands and like, but no, he brought the opportunity to Dwight in that first episode of the season. I don't know. Anyway, you get my point. So she's like, for a fucking you think I'm gonna let it go? Does donuts in the Dunmire estate. Jeremiah comes out, Robert Patrick. This side of the scene I love. I might hate Cleo. I might hate this kind of scene here. And by the way, before I continue, I understand. I think I said it earlier in the episode. Her father was burnt down in her family estate with him in it. You still, why did she sucking Mitch into this with the car and the drinking is like, just like you're gonna do donuts on Tony Soprano's hill on his front lawn when he's coming out with his in his pajamas, and you're gonna start causing fucking trouble. Do you want to die? Do you want your boy to die here, your boyfriend that you're getting back with? I don't know. This lady is off the goddamn chain. And she's like, you think I'm gonna let it go? For a fucking And he's like, accidents happen. Now take this dually emotional lady home. Young man, you should watch the company you keep. I just love Jeremiah Dunmire is so awesome. Robert Patrick crushes this. As I said before, I think his aging has helped with this scowl, that this facial choice that he has in his animation when he's pissed. And he just has this like resting bitch face of so badass. And I think the aging though, the wrinkles go into it and he just bunches up his face. For audio, you can't see my face, but that's my over-dramatized imitation of him. And, I guess we see why Mitch broke up with this broad in the first place. I wouldn't have said broad if she didn't just act like that, but goddamn. And I know the girl's grieving, but again, goddamn. So at the strip club, we are now at a strip club. Goody reminds Tyson about kicking up. So you got Tyson, Grace is there too, and Bodie. So everyone we saw again at Bingo, Tyson is just one. He's got a bunch of singles from Bingo. And then Goody's like, hey, remember to kick up. This is a fucking mob thing, don't forget. And then he's like, yeah, I already got that socked away. This is stripper money that I've saved. I already had a stripper slush fund for this night. So Bodie says this is his first time remembering being in a strip club. They're like, wait, you've never been to a strip club? And he's like, well, I was, but and he tells some story about how he doesn't remember it because he was on some crazy drug. And they're like, that doesn't count. You've never been to a strip club. By the way, not a fan of strip clubs myself, so not a big deal. I don't understand them. I mean, I understand them, but you get my point. Not my thing. Like women, don't like strip clubs. So Serenity the stripper, this pretty hot Asian stripper, comes over, offers Tyson a lap dance. And the crew's like, oh, we gotta go, and blah, blah, blah. And like every one of them is like, no, we have to get going. And he's like, flagging the play. He's like, I'm gonna accept this lap dance. So they go in the private lap dance room. Tyson once again. This is a theme. Our characters on Tulsa King are very sensitive to music. He's like, why are you playing this brain rot music? Because it sounded like some EDM type electronic shit. And so she puts on some island sounding hip hoppy stuff. And he gets a lap dance, and within like 30 seconds, he's like, so what's your plan outside this place? Like, are you her guidance counselor? Like, exactly what is happening here? Way too rushed. And here's what you could have done. Because obviously this stripper character factors into later on in the episode and probably the trajectory of this entire season. Why not set her up in like the first episode of the season? Like, we are introduced to that strip club. You even could have skipped an episode. You even could have introduced her last episode. Just something of he's now really into this stripper girl. It's a gangster show. There would be stripper characters. I get it. But like, and that way this conversation is natural, and then her being again taken hostage matters a lot. Like, what is about to happen is as if a Bing girl, one of the Bada Bing girls from Sopranos, got taken hostage that we don't even know. This isn't Tracy with two E's getting taken hostage. We don't know Serenity, guys. We need at least an episode. We need at least 35 minutes of a series to know that we're supposed to care about this. And I'm not saying because she's a stripper. You get my point. Especially in the world of gangsters, though. Okay? It's a little more like, yeah, this is how they would, so now I'm supposed to care about some stripper, like that. They say that in The Sopranos. It's like, was she your girlfriend? Was she your guma? Make this girl, give her a bit more status. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Anyway, Mitch drops off Cleo at the bread $2, and I guess this is the final thing I'll say about the stripper. I like the idea of the character. I don't mind how we got where we got, or no, I don't mind where we got. It's how we got there. And also, like I complained about last episode, just thinking about it, not much was going on. That could have been part of your setup and interesting. You know, it's like a different new setting, new character. The show gets bigger with a new season. That would have filled out last episode, I think, better than it was. So Mitch drops off Cleo with the bread $2. She's like, I said I was sorry, Mitch. Well, you're going to continue with this silent treatment? Oh, if she said anything in that car, let alone, I said I was sorry, like, you're going to get shitty with me for being quiet. Okay. He's like, do you want me to get sent back to jail? I forget the name of the local jail. He's like, you know why we never end well? It is because of impulsive shit like that. And I just love how much he owns her here. This is not a male-female thing. She did something that could get all of them fucking killed. Him right there, her right there, on the premises, let alone the whole operation just taken down. Jeremiah Dunmire is a monster. She knows better than anyone. So it's like, dude, your generational nemesis, you just did donuts on his front lawn. So good idea. It's like, this is serious shit, Cleo. Life or death. And again, voice of reason. But he's like, keep this up and we're strangers. And she don't want that. She don't want that. She's like, I don't want that. And she shouldn't. She's being stupid. But again, why? If we got this conversation, is this like the, I guess, I don't want to say convict mentality because that's messed up, because that is to assume that people can't rehab. But maybe this is part of, I guess, this idea of like, these are the people he grew up with. These are the people he knows. We learn in The Sopranos, this happens all the time. Like, people who on paper are good students or whatever, these are the people they grew up around and they just get sucked back into the life. In this case, this guy was a flat out felon. So maybe he's like, oh, maybe she grew up. But holy shit, like some ticking dime bomb crazy ex. I don't let crazy exes back in my life, and I don't do the business he does. Why would you do that in the business you do? Like, holy crap. This is like a good looking dude that is, I just don't understand why this guy would let this crazy woman back in his life. He must really love her. Anyway, so Cole has Tyson with two of his goons outside a warehouse looking place. So we see the Cybertruck, and then we see Cole Dunmire's big ass truck with the lights on. And Cole, alas, don't want the money. He don't want that bingo money. He wants to know where the 50 is. He's like, where is the fucking 50? He's like, man, 50's a legend. You didn't know that? He's like, look, I really don't want this, but they do. And so his guys start hitting Tyson. And when he said, I really don't want this, we've seen, bad guys say that. This will hurt me more than it hurts you, when your parents would say that when you're, getting spanked. And it's just like, fine, good line, cool. What do they do, though? They punch him a bunch of times. Like, this is the most powerful dude apparently in Oklahoma, or at least in the Tulsa area, who has the governor in his pocket, meaning this guy's father, his number two, and this was a problem last episode. I just thought of this. Midstream, guys. Midstream just thought of this. I think it was Cole himself. Yeah, because that's when he got burned by his father coming home. Anyway, had no gun when he went to attack Mitch at his house. It's like, Cole Dunmire don't have a gun. okay. And in this case, it's like, I really don't want to do this, but my guys, you could have done that. You punched him. Like, no torture, no sick meathead redneck special. Again, no offense. He calls them rednecks. I didn't. Okay? I didn't use a different R word in this case. But I don't know. I was just hoping for more kind of like weird Southern torture that we've never seen before. But whatever. He's like, now you're putting me in a position. Because Tyson still won't give up what's going on. I probably wouldn't have either at that point. You just punched me a bunch of times. Big deal. I got a hard head. I can take hits. I know those guys are huge, but the other thing too is like, these are supposed to be, his boys would be these huge guys. What I was specifically expecting was like, again, meathead meets redneck. Like, you get my point. There could have been some like exercise equipment they busted out. I don't know, some shit, but all good. Especially because this guy looks like he wears like super fancy clothing. I love how everyone has very specific clothing and like styles in this. Very quick tangent. I noticed Thresher has the whole Asian motif going. I also wonder, actually we'll get to that in a second, because we're going to talk about Thresher in just a minute, but I just, what I'm trying to say is every character down to costuming is very specific. This guy seems like a narcissist, kind of like Southern fancy pants with his fancy shirts, and it all would have fit, but okay. So he's like, now you're putting me in a position. Pulls Serenity out the car, and he's like, oh no. And he does this countdown, pretty cool. I guess you would call it a match cut. I'm not sure in editing exactly if that would be a match cut, but he's counting down. He's like 3, 2, 1, but at 1 cuts to black, and they, I think, turn on a light in the mausoleum room. Cole confirms the 50 collection in the mausoleum at the Montague estate. It looks like they've knocked out whatever guard they had there. Cole gives permission to shoot Tyson. He's like, what about the black kid? Because he's like, we need some dollies. We're going to ship this shit out. Oh my God. It does seem like 1 guard. That's all you had on your $150 million, as we've learned from last episode, 50 collection here, but all good. So this too, the action beats. They did a bunch of punching before. Worst goons ever. I guess now, yes, these are the same goons. They punched him a bunch, had all his teeth. When he raised his head, that was the other thing I was expecting. Like, all right, we're going to do some punching. Maybe it's not a lot to look at, but punches aren't always a lot to look at. It's the aftermath. Kids, not encouraging, but that's sometimes a lot to look at. I was really hoping when Tyson lifted up his head and he started laughing maniacally, there was just like at least 2 teeth missing. At least, or just a mouthful of blood, something, real bruised up face, his eye socket messed up. It was just like, what exactly did they do? And then in this case, gives permission to shoot Tyson. They leave him inside. My voice is getting whiny. My point, these goons didn't know the Cybertruck was bulletproof. Who doesn't know in 2025 that a Cybertruck is bulletproof? These are goons in Oklahoma. I'm going to guess not left wing, right? I think any person, whatever wing, politics aside, would probably know. These are guys who carry and shoot guns for a living for the most badass guy in the area of Tulsa, and they don't know. And was this a commercial for Tesla? Again, I'm not being political here. It felt so like, bulletproof? Bulletproof. I mean, he has the line, like Tyson flat out says, he's like, oh man, bulletproof, thank God. My Tesla saved my life. Like, it just felt like, was that product placement? Ugh. I was like, ooh, isn't Pepsi refreshing when you hear people say shit like that? It was even an episode of The Sopranos. It's like Nissan's triple safety, whatever philosophy. And Tony Soprano flat out just reads copy from, he might as well have just been like in a voice booth when he says the fucking line, like delivering it. It was so obvious product placement. Then again, gangsters do like their words and to sound fancy, and maybe a gangster would say that kind of shit, but I don't know. Back at the Manfredi, and they are very materialistic, so that could be it. Back at the Manfredi residence, Stallone's having drinks with Lois Lane, with Margaret Devereaux, queen of the ranch. Dwight asks Margaret for a favor, because she used to be with, oh, I guess this answers my question that I'm about to ask. Anyway, Dwight asks Margaret for a favor of asking how the polling looks for Thresher as governor. So Cal Thresher, played by the great Neil McDonough. Interesting reversal of he was our bad guy last season, one of our heavies, and now this season he is, Dwight's essentially blackmailing him for gubernatorial power, for look the other way type power, for anything I want to have done. I got the governor in my pocket, essentially. That is if Thresher wins this upcoming election. So now he's like, I need to know which way the wind's blowing. Because Dunmire, again, has everyone in his pocket, and this is where we learn, apparently, even has the governor in his pocket. I know I keep repeating that, but I don't know if we knew that until this point in the episode. But real quick, the thing of Thresher, as I was saying before, she says something about, she's like, unmarried bachelor. I wonder if, we were talking about femininity before with the watchmaker guy. I wonder if they're doing a little bit of that with Thresher. I wonder if Thresher is possibly like bi, or because if you remember his house, not only is he rich, but he's got the whole Asian thing going of like super fancy Asian silk and shit everywhere in his house. Another fascinating thing. Like, talk about East meets West. This isn't just gangster East Coast meets West. This is the Eastern world. And remember, he worked with that Chinese guy as well, who was one of the bad guys of last season. So I like that he's this like, and he was literally quoting Chinese philosophy to Bill Bevilacqua on the phone. And also fascinating, again, you have like an Italian quoting, he was speaking actual Italian, and then Cal Thresher does some Chinese proverb. I just love, again, the specificity of these guys, and I wanted to point out the interesting Asian angle that you would never expect from some, again, Western gangster. So Dwight then gets a call. We got a problem. And this leads to Dwight underground seeing firsthand that Cole Dunmire took all of the 50. And then he's like, how bad are you, Tyson? He's like, I'll live. And it's like, no, he should be hospitalized. And if not, that's just, I don't understand why Cole Dunmire isn't more of a badass. This is the second time, once again, that he's like kind of roughed up. What's his name wasn't hospitalized either last episode. And it's like, all right, maybe they escalate. Maybe it's like scare someone close. So that's why Mitch wasn't hospitalized. At this point, it's strike two. And this girl just did donuts. Like at this point, Cole would flat out have hospitalized. And you don't have to kill him, right? This is why we have hospitals in gangster shows. Just, it needs to escalate, I think, more believably here. It's like that episode in The Sopranos when I always say Billy Bats. Philly, Leotardo, comes down, beats the shit. Speaking of Ormond, Max Casella, Benny on that show. And he's like, it's a start. Really hospitalizes Benny. We see Benny in the hospital bed, like super bad cauliflower ear, eyes swollen shut. This is what these people do. And all that takes is a beating. You don't have to... super strong dudes from a gym, what's his name? Tyson is not that big of a guy. I just don't understand, again, if this is a show where we're seeing people get shot in the face right after having an iron burnt onto their face, tied to a fucking radiator in New York, why we now can't... And that was the second time we saw someone get burned. Dwight Manfredi burns a lot of people, or I guess his crew burn a lot of people. We saw that guy in New York, right after he finds out about the thing with his daughter. Burns the guy's face on, like, with a close-up, but Tyson still has all his teeth. That's fine. He's like, how bad are you, Tyson? He's like, I'll live. He's like, Dunmire won't. Pretty good line. And then some fine Western music takes us on out. Final thoughts and recommends. It was good. Not great. That's what I said before. Based on the things that I said before. I don't want to complain too much because I will say overall positivity, it's more positive than negative. I think the places that they got us to, once again, it was mostly just this. I like all the places this episode got us to. It's how we got there. And this goes from Cleo to Dwight. And I know I said that before, but I just kind of put together, that's kind of my problem with all of the problems I'm trying to say with this episode tie back to that. Of like, everything with Cleo, I don't mind where we got, it's how we got there. She is obnoxious, and they realistically probably would have just blown both of them away right then and there. Which, for a gangster show, you can kind of do that, light or not, but fine. to the stuff with Mitch and Musso, or sorry, with Manfredi and Musso. It's like, I don't mind where we got. I think the Watchmaker shit is fascinating. It's just these, and the amount of humor, like I said before, tone. I said it in my season 3 premiere. I was impressed with the tone of the show, and now I think some of that, maybe it is though because they are playing that balancing act. Still, I would say you can maintain that tone without feeling the need to, like I said, so much script real estate filled with jokes. You just don't need it. I noticed it with Bodhi. It was a moment in the Cybertruck where I'm like, now they really feel the need to, like, it felt like every 2 minutes there just had to be a joke. Like a Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously not at that level, but that type of, like, we got to make sure we have a joke. And do we? It just, we don't. All right, and that is the show. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows, subscribe and follow the pod. Again, that's Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. Any kind of super donation here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. Again, today and every Monday, Tulsa King Reviews between 2 and 2:30 p.m. EST, that's when we start. And finally, our exclusive pod coming next week for the Sam Jackson spin-off series of Tulsa King. Head on over to our Patreon, that's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. And then again, this week, we have our Alien Earth post-mortem exclusive as well. Early access to podcasts, detailed episode notes for each pod. That's all just at the $1 level. Again, patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. And of course, the link is in the notes. So this has been Benjamin reminding you to watch your shows